The Energy Council of South Africa says Eskom's slow progress made on expanding the transmission grid may be risking stalling the renewable energy investment pipeline. The council CEO, speaking at a coal industry conference, highlighted potential disruptions to the flow of investments needed in South Africa's electricity sector. Energy writer for the Business Day, Denene Erasmus, who has been following the story, joins us now. Denene, a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, good afternoon.
Very interesting, Denene, to hear of a conference that's spoken specifically about transitioning there, but also looking at coal and the role of coal, maybe in 2024, now in July. Let's take stock of where the world is with coal. We've gone from absolutely no coal to maybe a little bit of coal. Where are we now?
So I think that the conversation has changed a bit, and it's in one of its most recent reports, we've seen the International Energy Agency still predicting that we could see coal use for energy generation likely peak this year or perhaps next year. A lot of that depends on the performance of hydropower in China. But I think in South Africa and perhaps across the developing market, there is a greater realization now that although coal will gradually play less of a role in the energy mix, it is here to stay for at least the next 30 to 40 years. And in South Africa's case, we do still have some of our newer coal-fired power stations that could potentially run up to in the 2060s, 2070s. A lot of that, of course, will depend on how we see technology develop, both in the renewable space, but also whether there are more affordable and technologies that do develop on the coal side to make coal energy a bit cleaner. So yes, I think the conversation globally now still definitely seeing coal playing less of a role, and within the next year or two, we are likely to see that high point of coal usage, after which it will start to gradually subside, but definitely still around for a good 30 years before we are going to see that really massive overtake of renewables for coal-fired energy, and especially in developing countries.
And of course, as South Africa being a developing country, we've had a renewables program going for quite some time. I think we've spoken endlessly about issues of generation there. And now the big concern is transmission. The Energy Council seems to agree with this, that we're just not moving quickly enough there. But we know that, we had to establish the National Transmission Company and the like. So we still don't know if we've got a balance sheet to raise funds. Let's talk about those complexities, Denene.
No, this is certainly something that we have spoken about before, and we do understand. I think it's now that while we are still working on solving and getting to those long-term solutions on the generation side, the transmission side really does need a lot of focus. And I think what James McKay from the Energy Council of South Africa was saying yesterday is importantly to also understand that we can't wait. We need to move quickly on transmission, because this will help unlock the type of industrialization that we hope to see in the renewable energy value chain in South Africa. And that is all of course part of South Africa's just energy transition plans, which want to create hundreds of thousands into the millions of jobs by establishing value chains for the renewable energy sector in South Africa. So the point here being that if we don't see a ramp up and a sustained way of the pace at which the transmission grid is expanded and upgraded, then that will have a knock-on effect to how quickly and how sustainably the hoped for industrialization on the renewable energy side can happen.
Also, what concerns me, and I'll be very honest, Denene, is just the numbers that we're seeing emerge here. I think we saw 1.8 trillion rand over 10 years.
Yeah.
That's very close, I think, to the GDPs of some nations there. And truthfully, from a fiscus perspective, we certainly don't have room to raise these funds, at least not yet. Eskom doesn't look like it's got the balance sheet for that. We're going to rely on the national transmission company's balance sheet. But, I'm wondering where this money could possibly come from and the prospects of private investment and the returns that they might be looking for engaging in such risky projects here in South Africa.
Yeah, so that 1.8 trillion figure, that's from modeling done by the Energy Council to look at what would be needed over the next 10 years to address South Africa's energy supply problems in a way that would also speak to the just energy transition. So that would be investments in transmission, investments in solar and wind power, and also in battery energy storage. So that figure is coming from their modeling, and it's specifically just for the electricity sector. But yes, a massive amount of money, and very little of that can come from the state. There's just no capacity in the fiscus to fund this type of expansion. Again, a reason why we need greater certainty in terms of how the transmission system is going to be built, how it's going to be funded. We are waiting for Treasury to release some of its planning and documents around potentially how the private sector will be allowed to participate in financing grid expansion. I think the promise was that would be released now in July. So certainly between now and when we have the medium-term budget policy statement sometime in October, we will start seeing more details on that coming from Treasury, which of course, even now with a national transmission company as operating as a standalone entity, we really do need to start seeing those building blocks fall into place so that this can become so that it's no longer just talk, but that we can start seeing some projects get off the ground and some requests for proposals on transmission starting to go out to the market.
Well, Denene, we know that you'll report to us as soon as we see that movement. Always a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for your time today. That was Denene Erasmus, energy writer for the Business Day.